Hello everybody and welcome to the DenziBlitz. I'm your host Mike from Electric City Sentai DenziCaster, and this is part 9. It is the finale of Tokusou Sentai Dekaranger, the end of our third series here on the DenziBlitz. Today we are looking at episodes 46 through 50 of the I think 2004 installment into the Super Sentai series. Going back, watching this series now from beginning to end over the course of the last several weeks has been really nostalgic for me, and it's been a whole lot of fun because, as I've said time and again, this was my first Super Sentai to watch all the way through. So getting to do that again has just been an incredible amount of fun for me. So let's go ahead and we're just going to dive right into it. Episode 46 is called Propose Panic. It's hard for someone like me to think that even when you're in the last 5 episodes of a series, there's still filler. Especially on something that has potential for such a cool serialized story. And knowing what we got out of Power Rangers SPD, which really was ramping up storyline elements more and more towards the end with very little wasted motion. Here we kind of have to take in consideration that Japanese television functions a little differently than American television. In this case, most specifically, in that they had a year of television to fill, whereas Power Rangers, doesn't. Power Rangers usually has a set number of weeks. Back when SPD was around, it would be, say, 38 to 40. Whereas with the modern Power Rangers shows, it's more like 20. So really a different mentality and approach to television. But the result is you still wind up with a couple of filler episodes, even going into the home stretch. Propose Panic is one of those. Basically, it's an Umiko focus episode. It's one cool thing about the focus episodes in this home stretch, and we've seen it now several times over the course of the last couple of weeks, is that some of these filler episodes, filler in that they don't serve the meta plot too much, do serve to wrap up certain characters. And so this sort of serves as Umiko's emotional wrap for the series, showing that she has matured to a point. So basically she finds her perfect dream man and gets a proposal, but it turns out to be a trap, and Senchan Deca Green manages to see through it and tries to spare Umiko, but Umiko hears everything and winds up basically handling the big bad herself and growing up a little bit towards the end of the series. It's a cool episode for Umiko. Is it must-watch for the meta-plot of the series? Is it essential? No, it's not. But it's not a bad episode at all. Episode 47, from here on in, 47, 48, 49, 50, these are all essentials. They may not all seem to be essential at first, but they are. Because it is one building on the next, even in small ways. So 47 is called Wild Heart, Cool Brain, and this is the episode where we find out that Asuka Bonbon is not Earth's first Deca Red. That there was a Deca Red before him. I believe the character's name was Gyoku. He is a Leon Sajin, a lion alien. And Hoji and Jasmine, Blue and Yellow, were part of the original Earth branch before the Deca suits, before they could actually transform into Deca Rangers. An SPD murdering alienizer comes back to Earth, one that actually ended the active field career of Earth's first Deca Red, and Hoji and Jasmine, back at that time, were a duo. They were partners. So they re-team up to bring down this alienizer, and ultimately it takes Asuka Bonbon tracking down Earth's first Decker Red, bringing him back to Earth, and having him address Hoji and Jasmine in order to get them to focus and remind themselves of the lessons he taught them. Because we find out that the sense of cool, burning heart, cool head, that is all sort of him, his teaching to them. One thing that is pretty cool coming out of that episode, though, is at the end, the Earth's first Decker Red, we find out that he has been building a special team. He refers to it as a Red Tokyo, basically a special forces group that would take on specific special missions as a team, where the Tokyos function as individuals. This would be a cohesive unit that would be essentially a SWAT team called Fire Squad. And he asks Doggy Kruger, who was his commander as well at one point in time, to allow him to transfer Asuka Bonbon to his unit and become a member of Fire Squad. That sets up episode 48, called Fireball Succession, which basically is Asuka Bonbon's mentality that the team needs a fireball. It needs someone who's going to challenge them and challenge their notions and be the emotional, the unstable emotional center for the Dekaranger team. Basically summing up what he has been for the entire series, which is the reckless guy. And in his mind, the team needs someone to be reckless, because they are also very cool and calculated, that every once in a while you need the guy that'll fly off the handle. And so Tetsu, Deca Break, basically says that he will be the fireball for the team. He will take over this role. When he is trying to figure out if the Earth branch can do without him, Bond winds up falling victim to a body-manipulating alienizer who basically... symbiotic alienizer that can control his every move, everything except speech, apparently. The only way to stop the alienizer is essentially to kill it, but to kill it means that Bond dies too. If you kill Bond, then the alienizer either has to flee or die. And ultimately, Tetsu kills, he stops the heart of Deca Red, and winds up stopping this alien Seijin with this completely off-the-wall plan that probably shouldn't work. Kill your team leader and then hope you can revive him. Of course, he doesn't tell anybody that he hopes he can revive him. He goes ahead and offs his leader. Ultimately, of course, he does revive Bond by the end of the episode, and such a reckless maneuver gives Bond the confidence that maybe Tetsu is the guy. Maybe Tetsu can be the fireball of the Earth branch in his absence. But the flip side of this is that all of this, which has gotten the team away from the base, away from Deca Base, has served as a distraction from Agent Abrera. And Abrera has managed to infiltrate the Deca Base with a veritable army of his mecha humans and mercenaries, which leads us into episode 49, the Devil's Deca Base. Basically, Agent Abrera has a mercenary team that was once imprisoned by Doggy Kruger, which he has outfitted with his new hyper muscle gear, more or less his answer to the SWAT mode armor, and takes over the Deca Base. Which means he now has the most powerful mecha in the Earth Branch arsenal at his disposal. The Dekarangers have to scramble trying to figure out, well, how do we save the base? How do we get in? How do we protect the city? And ultimately, how do we stop Agent Abrera? So we wind up with this pitched battle initially, which is just Swan and Deca Master Doggy Kruger in the base trying to save the day, trying to liberate the base, repel these invaders. Meanwhile, once in control of Deca Base, we wind up with the Rangers taking to the Deca Ranger Robo and Deca Bike Robo to somehow, some way, try to stop Deca Base Robo. Ultimately, they fail, and between episodes 49 and episode 50, our finale, Forever Deca Ranger, a lot of things happen. Deca Ranger Robo gets destroyed. Deca Bike Robo is damaged. The Special Police Deca Ranger, the Space Police themselves, the massive galactic entity, has decided that they are going to destroy Deca Base and whoever's in it, which right now includes a heavily injured Doggy Kruger and Dr. Swan and whatever personnel are remaining. They are going to they're going to basically bomb Deca Base out of existence. But little do they know that they're coming into a trap. The force field that protects Earth from alien spaceships is controlled from the Deca Base, which Agent Abrera has figured out how to use. So Agent Abrera winds up turning the force field on so that when the Space Police arrive, they're literally going to drive into a force field and all get blown up. So our heroes, in the final episode, it is our heroes infiltrating the base. It's Tetsu piloting Deca Wing Robo by himself, which we find out Swan hid in an underground bunker during episode 49 with her last breath. She didn't die, but her last free moment, basically. And winds up in this really interesting, really pitched final episode that you don't see very often in Super Sentai. I know I'm going a lot of summaries here, but here's the bottom line. The action is top-notch. The story, once you hit 47, like I said, 46 is kind of filler. Once you hit 47, it's boom, 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 and it's basically 4 consecutive episodes that might be the four best serialized episodes in the entire series. Episode 50, particularly, I love. I love the idea of, especially in 49-50, of our heroes up against a wall, presumably no way to win, and yet somehow, some way, they're going to have to try to pull it off. And that very idea, that very concept, I love. Episode 50, I particularly love because Agent Abrera controls the Deca Base, which means he controls the entire Deca Ranger arsenal, including their ability to transform. Something they say over and over and over and over. Once they trigger their license, the Deca Base transmits the Deca Metal suits to them. So that means the base can cancel their transformations, which is exactly what Abrera does. And you wind up with the 5 Deca Rangers, the main 5 in the base, Tetsu piloting Deca Wing Robo, none of them transformed, still somehow, some way, they have to find a way to save the day. And in episode 50, it's just moment after moment, we see the team split up, everyone gets their hero moment. You get the moment that you've been waiting for 50 episodes, where Hoji finally looks at Bon and calls him partner. So it's just such a really cool episode, and of course, our heroes are able to save the day. Doggy Kruger in episode 49 was trying to get them a message. We find out what that message is, which is basically him trying to explain where the auxiliary control is in the Deca Base. Turns out it's in Murphy's doghouse. So it's just such a wonderful finale to the series, and I heartily recommend this show for any person who, even if you're just getting into Super Sentai, I think you have to look at this show as something that would fall on a must-watch list, because it is one of the better Super Sentai shows, in my opinion. And you don't have to take just my opinion for it. They come back to it again and again. Dekaranger was had a considerable crossover in the Gokaiger series. They were one of the shows that got a two-parter. At least I think it was a two-parter. The characters, at least Asuka Bonbon and his actor Ryuji, wind up in Akiba Ranger, and that's Akiba Red's love of Dekaranger plays a role in that show. Dekaranger was one of the shows that got a 10 years after, which not every Super Sentai gets one of those. Hurricaneger was the first one that got Hurricaneger 10 years after. Dekaranger got that treatment as well. They didn't do it for Abba Ranger. They haven't done it for anything since Dekaranger. And even recently, they got another Dekaranger movie with Dekaranger versus Gavin for a big space police crossover. So there really is a whole lot of upside to Dekaranger, and it's just, simply put, a really fun series. And it's one of the rare instances where if you watch the Super Sentai version and the Power Rangers version, I can't really pick a favorite between them. Power Rangers SPD is an outstanding show as well. It hits a lot of the same notes. The overall beats of Dekaranger resonate in SPD, all the way down to the base being taken over at the end of the series and the big final battle and having to repel the invaders and all this other stuff. That happens there too, but in a different way, with a different story. In Dekaranger, it is very much an episodic police procedural show that ultimately has a big bad, who is the big bad only in so much as he runs the black market and the Dekarangers cost him a crap ton of money, so he's going to get back at him. Whereas SPD has a big bad from the word go. There's the evil Trubian Empire. So overall, tremendous show, heavily recommended. You guys go out, check it out, watch it. One of these days, I sincerely hope Shout Factory gets around to it. They're going through them in order, so it's going to be a while if they keep coming out. But I will jump for joy the day that I pull up Amazon and see Tokusou Sentai Dekaranger for pre-order. So, folks, we're at the end of Dekaranger, which means next week we start a brand new series here on the DenziBlitz, and that is going to be Uchu Keiji Gavan, or Space Sheriff Gavin. The first of the Metal Hero shows, the first of the Space Sheriff trilogy. We're going to check out episodes 1 through 6 of that here next week. That's going to be The Strange Fortress Beneath Tokyo, The Stolen Japanese Islands, Oh No, Stop Dr. Kuroboshi's BEM Project, The Demon Helmet That Calls for Death, Mimi Cries, The Deadly Poison Cobra Bullet Hits Retsu, and The Geniuses of the Maku School. So, first 6 episodes we are going to check out here next week as we travel back in time to 1982. I was not yet 1 year old when this show actually hit the airwaves. Let's see here. In fact, I was not yet 1 year old before any of the episodes we're going to talk about next week. My first birthday was between episodes 6 and 7. So we're going to check all of that out here next week. In the meantime, we need some help from you guys. We are going to go ahead and start trying to figure out what our next show after Gavin is. And for that, I need your help. I've decided that it's going to be something Power Rangers. We've done some Kamen Rider. We've done some Super Sentai. We have yet to do a Power Rangers show here. So what I'd want you guys to do is jump over to our Patreon page. You do not have to be one of our patrons to take part in this poll, but we are having a poll over on our Patreon page to pick the era from which the Power Rangers show will come from. It's either going to be the Zordon era, which means somewhere between Mighty Morphin Season 1 and Power Rangers in Space, the post-Zordon era, so between Lost Galaxy and Wild Force, the Disney era, which is the biggest one, which means it would fall somewhere between Ninja Storm and RPM, or from the Neo Saban era. A lot of people like to call it the Saban Brands era, I call it, which basically would be anywhere from Samurai and Super Samurai through Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge. That's the deal. Go pick which particular era of Power Rangers will be the next DenziBlitz after Gavin. Gavin should take about 8 parts to get through. I think we're doing 8 weeks of Gavin. So head over to our Patreon, and if you're so inclined, become one of our patrons. We'd love for you to do that. We post up there every single week. There is a special early access episode where you get to see an episode long before it ever shows up here on the network. Sometimes it's a couple of days, sometimes it's a week, sometimes it might be longer. For instance, I believe the early access episode that went up this week, in fact, it should have gone up, I think it went up yesterday, would be from 8-Star Anime. The one before that was DenziCaster. The one before that came from Chopsaki Cinema. So you never know which show the early access one will come from. But we do one of those every week. Sometimes we'll do special videos only for our patrons. You can even join the creative team, as we call it, where you actually get to pick an episode of a show once a month, where you get to pick something that we will talk about during our next set of tapings, or a game we'll play in the case of Rage Quit Radio. So jump over there. It's $1, $3, or $5 a month. You pick. We're trying to get some lighting right now. That's our very first goal. And once we hit $150, we can order our lighting. There's going to be 3 sets, one for each of our 3 primary setups at our 3 primary locations. And 8-Star Anime, Chopsaki Cinema, and DenziCaster, once we do that, we'll all have a special patron-only episode that will not appear on YouTube. We'll host it there, but it's not going to be out there for the public. You're not going to be able to search for it. The link will be given just to our patrons. So jump over there and check that out. We would greatly appreciate it. So please hop over and do that. Check us out on Cafe Press as well. You can grab yourself some cool DenziCaster swag, or for any of the great shows here. And jump over to our Facebook. It's facebook.com/DenziCaster. You'll see all that cool social media stuff on the credits once I'm done talking. So folks, until next week when we Joe Chuck it, I'm Mike, and we will see you on the DenziBlitz.